transfer of power from the British to independent India at the midnight of 14th and 15th August 1947 was a historic moment that marked the end of colonial rule and the dawn of a new era for the Indian subcontinent. This transition was the culmination of a long struggle for independence involving numerous movements, protests, and negotiations over several decades. From the early 20th century, the Indian independence movement, led by leaders like Mahatma Gandhi, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, and Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, gained momentum, uniting millions against colonial rule through both non-violent civil disobedience and more radical approaches. The economic strain and geopolitical shifts following World War II, coupled with the increasing calls for freedom, weakened Britain's hold on India. By 1946, the post-war Labour government in Britain, led by Prime Minister Clement Attlee, recognized the unsustainability of colonial control and committed to transferring power to an independent India. In the evening of 14th August 1947, celebrations erupted across India as the nation prepared to embrace freedom. The transfer ceremony took place at the Constituent Assembly in New Delhi, where the last British Viceroy, Lord Louis Mountbatten, officially handed over power to Indian leaders. In his address, Mountbatten emphasized the significance of this moment in history, acknowledging the efforts of countless individuals who fought for India's freedom. He expressed hope for a peaceful and prosperous future for the newly independent nation. As the clock struck midnight, Jawaharlal Nehru, who would become India's first Prime Minister, delivered his iconic speech titled Tryst with Destiny. In it, he articulated the aspirations of the Indian people and the commitment to building a just and equitable society. Nehru's address resonated with themes of hope, unity and determination, highlighting the sacrifices made during the freedom struggle. However, the transfer of power was not without its challenges. The partition of India into two separate nations, India and Pakistan, led to widespread communal violence, mass migrations, and significant human suffering. Millions of people were displaced as communities were divided along religious lines, leading to one of the largest mass migrations in history. The newly independent governments faced the daunting task of addressing these issues while simultaneously laying the foundations for a functioning democracy. The midnight transfer of power was a pivotal event that not only marked India's independence, but also set the stage for its future as a sovereign nation. It established the principles of self-governance and democracy, and the subsequent adoption of the Constitution on 26 November 1949 further solidified these ideals. This momentous occasion continues to be commemorated annually as Constitution Day, serving as a reminder of the struggle for freedom and the ongoing journey toward building a strong and inclusive nation. Address by Dr. Rajendra Prasad to the Constituent Assembly, 14th August 1947. In his historic address to the Constituent Assembly during the transfer of power on the midnight of 14th to 15th August 1947, Dr. Rajendra Prasad expressed deep gratitude for India's newfound independence after many years of struggle. He invoked humble thanks to the Almighty Power for guiding the nation and honoring the memory of those who sacrificed their lives, wealth and freedom, enduring prisons, exile and hardships to realize this dream. He paid special tribute to Mahatma Gandhi, calling him the beacon light, our guide and philosopher, who led with the principles of truth and non-violence, securing Swaraj without arms. Dr. Prasad urged the nation to uphold these values, underscoring that India's true contribution to a war-distracted world lies not in pursuing arms, but in offering an alternative of peace. He pledged India's commitment to friendship and amity with all nations, emphasizing that we have no designs against anyone, aspiring only for universal peace and freedom. Acknowledging the sorrow of partition, Dr. Prasad expressed well wishes for Pakistan and extended support to those who felt displaced, urging them to cultivate the qualities of courage and forbearance. He assured minorities in India of fair and just treatment without discrimination, guaranteeing that their religion, culture and language are safe. Finally, he outlined the country's resolve to eradicate poverty and squalor, abolish exploitation, and ensure dignified living conditions for all. Dr. Prasad emphasized that the nation was embarking on a great task and sought the unstinted service and cooperation of the people to realize these aspirations. Address by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru to the Constituent Assembly, 14th August 1947. In his address to the Constituent Assembly on the midnight of 14th to 15th August 1947, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru reflected on India's tryst with destiny and the time that had now come to fulfill this long-standing pledge to serve India and her people. Asserting the Assembly's imminent transformation into a fully free and independent body, he reminded his audience of the responsibilities and challenges ahead, noting that while our hearts are full of joy, the violence and grief of partition cast a shadow on their celebration. Pandit Nehru acknowledged that independence, although almost attained, remains incomplete until each and every Indian breathes the air of freedom, free from poverty, inequality, and suffering. With freedom and power came responsibility, he remarked, challenging the Assembly to dedicate itself to the service of the millions who suffer, striving to end poverty and ignorance and disease and inequality of opportunity. He quoted Mahatma Gandhi's vision to wipe every tear from every eye, affirming that India's work would remain unfinished so long as there are tears and suffering. Pandit Nehru stressed that India's independence was not for any single party or group, but for all of every religion and creed, insisting that all Indians shall have equal rights. He emphasized unity, urging the Assembly to reject narrow-mindedness and to embrace this great adventure with courage and cooperation. As India steps out from the old to the new, he called for dedication to the service of India and her people and to the still larger cause of humanity, recognizing that peace, prosperity, and freedom are now indivisible in an interconnected world. In closing, Pandit Nehru proposed that all members of the Assembly pledge themselves in humility to the service of India and her people, aspiring for India to attain her rightful place in the world and make her full and willing contribution to the promotion of world peace and the welfare of mankind.
संसद टीवी के और भी प्रोग्राम्स देखने के लिए सब्सक्राइब करें हमारा YouTube चैनल और हाँ, इन्हें लाइक और शेयर करना ना भूलें।